Hello and welcome to the Catcher Desk. I'm Drakos, joined by Froskurinn and Ender. Whether you're at Instagram checking out the behind-the-scenes stories or at watch.lolesports.com, hopefully it's going to be a banger. This is called a cross post, and I was peer pressured into doing it. But now, folks, we get to get into the game, and that's what everyone is excited for. Schalke versus MAD, one final world spot on the line, and we are just moments away from picks and bans.
It's the last chance dance. Dreams will die today. Someone will qualify for Worlds. Will it be the Schalke Miracle Run? Will it be our breakout stars in the MAD Lions? And what are we looking at in draft here, Christy?
Right now, my eyes are immediately drawn to the bottom lane. It's so important for these two teams to have their supports on playmakers. Last time these two teams faced off, Schalke hit MAD Lions champion pools hard down there, and I think the team that gets the winning bot lane has such an edge.
And here's the thing, MAD Lions are on the coveted blue side. This is the side that is considered exceptionally overpowered with the priority pick because red side is so hamstrung into banning things like that Caitlyn. So what are the priority champions that we're looking at that MAD Lions want to get a hold of? It's things like the Kalista and things like the Lilia.
Meanwhile, Schalke have to be looking at stuff like the Sona, the Caitlyn, the Thresh. These were their 3 bans against MAD Lions when they faced off in Week 8, and it removes 3 of the favorite pairings of MAD Lions in the bot lane. The Sona Lux, Caitlyn plus anything else, frankly, and Thresh teams up beautifully with that Kalista power pick.
And I like it. We were running through plausible pick bans in the back stage, and it already looks like we're 4 for 4 on bans so far. But the Senate Committee takeaway from Neon, that's a big deal. He got it all 3 games in the series versus SK. The Caitlyn now taken off the board, and now the Shen too. Now that's a bit of a curveball.
Now the thing is MAD Lions are setting them up for a first pick of a Kalista, unless it's banned here. I think this is the Kalista grab, or it could be that Lilia, depending on if the Hecarim changes things that they want to go for a farming jungler. But MAD Lions would really like a Kalista versus SK matchup, and instead, a blind pick Akali. Now, we were talking about Akali backstage. Apparently, she is popping off in scrims right now, but we haven't gotten to see it. But blind pick is pretty risky.
Blind pick first pick is especially risky, and what this tells me is for the MAD Lions, this could be a flex option between top lane and mid lane. I think when you look at MAD Lions, you would usually say Akali, that's definitely going into mid, but MAD Lions need to show some adaptability in the draft with a first pick like that.
And now the response is the Orianna blind pick, super safe since that Akali is a flex that you were talking about. She can absorb and survive in Akali lane if she does face her, and then into an Ashe to dissuade a Kalista. Ashe does amazingly into Kalista, takes a lot of power, so you then see the immediate pivot for Carzzy, grabbing the Jhin, which has been an answer.
This is crazy, just going full into the utility AD carry wheelhouse here, and I think when you're showing the Akali, having a long-range engage option like the Jhin makes Akali in the top lane a little bit more feasible if you're not going to be having some champion up there that can offer that hard engage. Jhin will help with Analyst to get that done.
Now, normally you would grab the Tahm Kench as the support, but the thing is Gangplank rises in priority massively right now. Not only because the Shin has been banned, but also because Shin and Jhin together, or excuse me, Gangplank and Jhin together work exceptionally well, using the Cannon Barrage and then using your long-range W to snare and snipe people out. So I expect Gangplank to either be a high priority pick out for Schalke on red side or completely banned away.
And of course, Gangplank historically a fantastic answer into mobile AD carries, and no surprise to see that we have 2 on the map. Schalke will now take that pick away, and I already love what we're seeing from draft. Schalke, I feel like this is stock standard in the context of this specific meta, especially for Schalke. On the opposite side, the Akali feeling like a real curveball, and if you're a MAD Lions fan, maybe you're hoping that this is more of that MAD Lions ingenuity showing through in draft.
Yeah, that's what we want, the creativity. Now, MAD Lions are probably looking at pinching Gilius here. Kha'Zix is going to be an answer that they could take. It usually goes really well with Orianna. Same thing like Camille, a champion that has hard engage that can land on top of you and be that successful ball delivery service.
And now for Schalke, what they ban away here could be pretty telling because the Lee Sin is a champion that has been such in Shadow's wheelhouse. Instead, looking at their last series, it's a Graves ban. And this is pretty telling because both junglers in their series last weekend were completely away from the early game. They were playing the Hecarim, they were playing the Lilia. In the case of Shadow, it was about those scaling jungle picks. And I think with an Akali, presumably in the mid lane, you're not going to be taking the Lilia, some more magic damage out of the jungle. The Graves would be the AD equivalent of a farming scaling jungler.
And interesting because it does further set the expectation that this Akali could be a flex pick. With an AD jungler, you would want AP solo lanes. Akali, if she is going to be using the top lane, would be a solid AP option. So we'll see what the final choices are here. But the Lilia will be taken off the table a bit later than in the previous weeks, but will still get banned away.
Now, if Schalke take Mordekaiser here, it tells me that they want to go for the Sejuani. Sejuani's kind of the big answer. Mord acts as a good answer into Sejuani because you can take a lot of her stats away when you ult her. Instead, they pivot into a strong blind pick like a Renekton. So Odoamne really trying to aggressively win his lane or force Orome perhaps onto the back foot in a matchup.
And interesting to see him go for the blind pick here, meaning that they're securing final pick for Gilius in the jungle. Not often that we see a jungler, especially this far into the draft, saving last pick. We'll have to see how much Gilius feels comfortable pivoting, depending on the champions that come through. But Orome, it appears, has resigned himself to weak side. We have seen Ornn mid in the past, but you have to assume that for now, this will be going to Orome's hands.
And I think this is exactly the right idea for MAD Lions. MAD Lions want to be playing through that bottom lane, and now we have a Sett in the jungle. Shadow had not played a game of Sett jungle all split long. They were banning it constantly on blue side. This is an anomaly to see this champion drop so low in priority, but this says MAD Lions have early game and they're here to play.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We were talking back and forth behind stage. We're like, neither of these teams play Sett. Sett is banned away by other teams. We thought it would completely drop through, and the question was, what would Shadow play if he didn't get Lee Sin, if he didn't get the Lilia? And he's now pulled up the trump card of saying, I can play the Sett, and I'm here to play a gank-oriented style.
And I would love to see him pull off a lot of those early ganks, just so incredibly strong with the phase rush in the jungle. But on the opposite side, Schalke have that all-too-powerful pairing that we know works well for this team. The Renekton combined with the Sejuani is going to be devastating.
And you are going to hear this from us all series long. Schalke on one side, they love their drafts to have cohesion, to have synergy. They will always draft for the big 5v5 to make sure that their champions all work together, especially in those team fights. Whereas MAD Lions, it's about individual agency. It's about creativity and individual power.
And right now, MAD Lions' composition has all this long-range CC, and then Humanoid playing off of that to give Abbedagge and Neon a terrible time in the back. He really is going to be the big carry for MAD Lions in this team comp. Akali must pay off with this first pick for MAD.
And no doubt that it has to be all eyes on Humanoid. See both teams getting ready. Coaches now leaving the room as the entire squad prepares for the first game and what very well could be their final best of 5. It's time. Schalke No Fear versus the MAD Lions. And here we are now on the Rift. And of course, important, I think, inevitably to talk about Humanoid. Now, in a lot of the games, MAD Lions have obviously felt like a big team effort. Humanoid is a guy that has had varying performances all season long. His Orianna, legendary. His Akali in the past, a champion we knew him for, but this is his first pick on it so far this year. And when you talk about it, there's CC everywhere, but there's damage mostly in the mid lane.
Humanoid is a player that I think really thrives when he is given a champion that, again, gives him agency, the ability to play out into his side lanes, to be in control of his own fate. Obviously, the lane phase for Akali is usually just about surviving, getting through lane phase. That obviously changes when she gets access to level 6. And then when she can play in a side lane, when she has the completion of the Gunblade, things start really opening up for her. So this should be a champion that really empowers Humanoid's play style, and now he just needs to be on form, that human that we were promised realized.
Exactly, and I think that one thing that MAD Lions took away from that series against G2 was that mid-priority wins games, especially when you have a Sett in the jungle. You are often looking to play through that lane to unlock invades, unlock roams towards other lanes. So now, Humanoid on this Akali is paired with the Sett in the jungle and the Nautilus. So this opens up those Hex Flash ganks in mid lanes combined with the Nimbus Cloak, which is so difficult for an Orianna to run away from, as well as Kaiser roams to get stuff done.
This is the exact pathing that Jankos pulled on Humanoid in the game 1 of the G2 series, and now he's going to try to force flash on Abba.
Wow.
There he goes.
Immediate early flash and holding on to his flash as well. Abbedagge with a lot of respect there, but that is going to cost him because the Hex Flash ganks and the normal flash ganks are just going to continue to come down in the mid lane.
And now what I want to see from MAD Lions is how willing they're willing to commit towards that middle lane, because one thing that I love seeing from Dreams on the other side when he plays this Nautilus is those early roams towards the mid lane. So with the level 2, Carzzy and Kaiser take a really nice trade down here.
Big damage onto Neon. Absolutely massive that hook does manage to connect. Kaiser really threading the needle there. Of course, Ashe extending the trade for quite a long time to make sure that at least they get some damage back onto Kaiser, but for now, the push priority very clearly in favor of the MAD Lions. Carzzy quickly burning through that mana bar, but for now should be able to sustain this
and
one.
Shadows back towards that mid lane. Abbedagge no flash. He is a sitting duck here, but Gilius is here as well.
Gilius with a level advantage as well. They have to be careful. 2 level 2 champions versus 2 level 3 champions. Basic math is not looking good for the side of MAD Lions. 3 stacks 4, flash forward from Gilius. He's going to look to finish this one off, but he's hesitating. He doesn't want to go in. He thought maybe Abbedagge could finish it, ticking down, but will not drop.
just gets out with a sliver of health there, but already you can see that Shadow came with a different strategy. It's no longer the hard farming style of the Lilia. It is trying to brute force those ganks, and I think he overreaches there, revealing that he hadn't taken his blue buff, losing all of his health, so even though Gilius didn't get the kill, he does get the blue buff.
Yeah, and he's able to get that blue buff with all the information he gained, as you said, but also Odoamne, with that pushing matchup in the top side of the map, is able to walk down and help him out. So one thing that I was talking about that mid lane play was how the supports can involve themselves in that type of a move, and while we saw Shadow, I think, jump the gun a little bit on trying to go for that early roam, because 15 seconds later, Dreams, or Kaiser rather, can make the rotation. I also want to point out that Dreams saw that coming and already was starting to match the move up from Kaiser. So both supports are playing with roaming in mind, and it's going to be big.
Action on two sides of the map. The Shadow sets up for a gank on the bottom line. Kaiser fishing for the hook. He's going to land it. Waiting on the hook actually to hit the Tahm. Kench now going to fish for the pullback on the Facebreaker. Might try to hit two, but the TP now coming in. MAD have committed most of their resources to this one. Shadow is caught out, and it most certainly will go down. Heads up TP play coming in for Odoamne. Good damage traded back, but there's no follow-up, so Odoamne is going to live with a sliver of health. Ticking away, but will make it out. No! Oh, man. All right, gets the recall one more time. The Deadly Flourish will not finish it.
And the big thing, of course, was the fact that Odoamne also had the push priority into his lane, so it's not like he loses anything by making that teleport play. And then the cherry on top that he also got the first blood. He's not losing any minions being forced onto his wave, so a really nice timed teleport from Odo, and this is bread and butter for Schalke. They trust fall into each other all the time. They play as a holistic team.
But once again, we see a situation where MAD Lions very clearly trying to force early action and it turning against them. Now, credit to Schalke for showing up when they need to show up, showing up where they need to show up to stop these plays from happening. But MAD Lions are going to start to put themselves in quite a big hole. Almost 1,000 lead for Schalke already, and I personally mostly just feel bad for Orome, who's now staring down that coal, knowing that that's the countdown timer till he gets absolutely destroyed in this 1v1.
Yeah, I mean, Orome is not going to have a great time in top lane, but he's signed up for that in draft. At the same time, Shadow only has boots, nothing going for him. He's just full sending, looking for the ganks, and now both teams playing around mid.
Odo still has flash.
Shadow again caught out 1, 2, 3, 4 stacks. It's just not going to be enough. The shield's coming out, but he's just going to get walked down here. You're not going to get away from an Ashe Orianna. Will not happen. So Schalke grabbing another kill here in this early game, and I would say a fantastic performance from Gilius and Schalke, but for Shadow, just caught out left and right.
Yeah, Shadow having a miserable time, no doubt about that, but Schalke's bot lane are the real heroes of this team and those early plays, because that wasn't just two supports running to mid lane, that was also Neon joining into the fight, because you know Nautilus on the other side is going to be scary. Meanwhile, Carzzy's running down bot side for the CS, so it really is just Schalke playing with a numbers advantage and pushing the tempo.
Complete jokes aside, because we always talk about the miracle run, as I am setting up this point though, there is a potential that a gank happens on Abba in the mid lane, as MAD Lions are just trying to fish for anything with this wave priority. But the thing is that Schalke's reset timers are so good. Their objective setup is so good. Watch how they team up Gilius and Dreams. Watch when they reset and the fact that they deny you anywhere to attack us on the map. When Gilius finally does show himself on a wave, it's not like Shadow will have any sort of answer, because on time, Dreams and Neon will be in base, walking to the next play. The fundamentals of Schalke are why they made a miracle run, not just the meme.
And the vision control on top of that, too. The entire way up the river, not even the river, inside their own jungle, Kaiser and Carzzy were spotted out, moving towards mid. Here we go, it's Tahm.
Level advantage, though. 6 to 5, this is going to be big. Moving right into Humanoid, that's going to be a kill picked up very easily. Going over to Orome as well. Not quite who you'd want it on, but still solid pickup for MAD.
Caster cursed them right there. Mechanical failure also from Odo right there. Not the best case scenario for that flash. Right into the waiting hands of Akali. Silver lining was the fact that it was Ornn that picked up the kill and not the Akali.
Yeah, and now for MAD Lions, it has to be either the solo laners moving or the bot lane moving to make these plays happen, because Shadow is so far behind. It should be Gilius hitting level 6 sooner. He's got that upgraded jungle item already with the smite, so now he jumps onto an Orome with no mana.
2, 3, and 4 stacks. We'll find the stun. Odoamne just a little bit too far away.
Wait, he leveled up into Orome's
remains not concerned, but you're right. There's the level 6 now coming in. Odoamne only level 5, but he can double dash through the minions. 1, 2, follow up with the stun as well. Doesn't quite get the anti-cancel, but doesn't even need it. Fury now running him down. Orome, though, just a little bit faster. Stops, waiting. Cole the Meek, where's it going to go? Walking away, and Odoamne will finish that one for the level 6.
And also with that, picking up the ultimate right there. Top laners in over-greeting for waves. Of course, Gilius did freeze the wave. Maybe Shadow gets something top.
Oh, Shadow, I think, jumped the gun a little bit right there. He had the Hex Flash, so he didn't have to use the blast gun to pop with the wall. They go in anyways.
Yeah, Devour's there, though.
Yeah, what I would have loved to see from Shadow actually is if he tried to use the Hex Flash to pop over the wall a little bit closer to the turret, get behind that Schalke bottom lane. There's no TPs on the other side, so that would have been a nice play from them if they're trying to force. And everything Shadow's telling with this play is he wants to force.
But I do want to point out Dreams and Neon taking their backs right there. I have a feeling that they are going to rotate for the Herald swap. Now, Ender, you were talking about this with me yesterday. When you start topside jungle, by the time your second jungle respawns, so paying attention to Gilius, your red buff has spawned right when the first dragon has gone down and the Herald spawns.
Yeah, and usually what this means is it'll give a slight combat edge to the team that is on the red side of the map with red buff up there. But the blue side of the map, in theory, can get a blue buff towards their mid laner. That's going to be a little bit less relevant with the Akali in the mid, because usually that would give you control over that middle wave. Instead, Schalke still with full control means Gilius gets to walk in, because remember, he stole that blue buff. He knows exactly what's going on, and he can take that away super easily.
And now you have a tempo advantage for Schalke as they're playing over the objective. I'm curious if they're going to try to force the dive on Orome, but hold on, Odoamne caught out.
On Odoamne, but he is level 6. Damage is coming through, but the Fury's there as well. He's not going to try to turn it. The curtain call is up, but because he runs, he almost sentences himself to death, lining it up for Carzzy, making sure that there's no stun nearby, and he does complete it.
And meanwhile, the dive did happen top lane. Orome used the Ornn ultimate to dissuade that. That's now twice that Odoamne, that one I think a bit more egregious, has made mistakes to allow MAD Lions to find something on this map.
And as the Herald goes down for Schalke, no fear. Looks like it will be uncontested. I think we have to take stock of this early game. It's 2-3 the kill score. Schalke have an Infernal. They're going to grab a Herald as well, so their gold lead will grow a little bit. But when we look at it, it felt like MAD were the team constantly forcing plays. They weren't working out for the most part until Odoamne started to, let's say it, overextend a little bit. But now, as we look across at the gold, at the items that are coming through, what is next?
Well, I think that right now Schalke with the Rift Herald, you see they put that on towards Neon. They love to give it to their AD carry as opposed to their jungler. So this will mean a lot of gold injected into the Ashe. That will also mean she's reaching that Blade of the Ruined King faster than Carzzy will be able to finish off his first item, which is a really nice spike for Schalke. And with all the hard engage options they have, with the Ashe arrow, the Sejuani ultimate, even the Tahm Kench ult to be able to cheat huge distances on the map, it gives them the ability to play fights super well.
Yeah, I call this the rogue special. You place down the Herald, you take the plates, you back, you have your Bork breakpoint, and then you rotate immediately into the dragon spawning in 26 seconds, and then suddenly you have a bunch of tower plates, you have 2 Drakes to your name, you had a Herald, and it feels just really good.
I mean, even Neon now, he'll take the 4-second recall and sprint down there anyways. He doesn't feel pressured to drop the Herald right now. He still has 3.5 minutes to make some good work out of that one, so with them playing down towards that bottom side, you'll notice Schalke coordinating the reset super nicely. Gilius basing at almost the exact same time to finish off his Cinderhulk. There is no way that MAD Lions should be able to contest them at the brink.
And now as Odoamne gets the pressure in here, we've once again swapped here on the side of Schalke. Clearly not interested in staying in a 2v2 matchup, but trying to use the Tahm Kench, the Ashe, this kind of extra vision and mobility that they get from their champions to constantly be one step ahead. Now, in the meantime, it does mean potentially giving up 1 or 2 tower plates to Carzzy on the swap, but with the power of the Herald, they should still be ahead of the clock here, as well as starting up the Mountain Drake. So, all things considered, Schalke willing to give up 1 thing in exchange for 2, so consistent.
Yeah, and even more salt in the wound for MAD Lions, because Jhin is not the most successful AD carry at taking down towers, especially in comparison to an Ashe, who then also has the Herald on top of it. So MAD Lions, I feel like, have had a really rough early game. Now, part of that is designed by some of the mistakes that Shadow have made, as well as their composition in general.
So my question now is, how can MAD Lions further unlock Humanoid? Because so far, the early action that's gone well for MAD Lions was him roaming to top to kill Odo, him roaming bot lane to kill Odo as well. So it's him, I think, working in tandem with Orome's ultimate from long range to find these picks, and that's really the area that MAD Lions have to fight around.
I think it's exactly what's happening on your map right now, whereas Carzzy and Humanoid were in the mid lane. Humanoid rocks up, and Carzzy's like, you need Gunblade. I will leave. He knew his place in the pecking order, and that's really what they're waiting for. Akali needs to have that item breakpoint before Humanoid can actually be unlocked. So for now, MAD Lions need to sit tight, which means agency and playmaking is on Schalke.
Yeah, I will also say boot choices for Humanoid feel really nice in this game. Obviously, he's matched up against magic damage in the mid lane for those Merc Treads, which delays his Gunblade a little bit, but against all the easy CC options from Schalke, that combined with what he is very likely taking Legend Tenacity will make him very slippery in these later fights.
And this is so crazy. I feel like MAD still think they're playing G2, because anywhere they see this Herald go, they send all their members. They're looking for a fight once again. The Devour comes back, the dunk back down on the Tahm Kench, but Dreams will make it out for now. Gilius on the retreat. Here comes Abbedagge, though. He's got the ball ready, but Humanoid is nowhere nearby. They're at a man disadvantage, and while Schalke may have wanted to wait on the Herald before, they can feel pretty comfortable to use it now.
Yeah, this is the disconnect we're seeing a little bit from MAD Lions now. Humanoid doesn't have the Gunblade. He had TP, but he doesn't want to fight. He just wants to farm, so MAD Lions throw a lot into that play around the bottom bottom lane, while Abbedagge was willing to move down and look for a play himself. And now I think Schalke are going to continue to try and play this flip-flop lane swap game.
I mean, I think MAD Lions are fine to take the handshake on that. I think the Ornn ultimate came out as almost like the disengage Ornn ult at that point, since Humanoid wasn't going to move, and it is enough gold to kind of get him over the line. So yes, in the end, in the map game, Schalke still very comfortable, kind of outplayed the engage that MAD Lions forced on them, and now have the Herald plates on top of it. But I don't think it's a bad case scenario for MAD. Humanoid's making his back right now. He should have the item, and now things can start getting better for them.
Big influx of gold, though. Thank you, observers, for highlighting that they're on the bottom scoreboard now. 2.2k in the back pocket there. Humanoid is going to dash out there. The Shuriken flip will take him to safety, but you can see until the sustain comes through from the Gunblade, we're just going to keep saying the word Gunblade. If you've never played Akali, you might not know this pain, but if you have, you know exactly what we're talking about. She really just becomes a champion once that item comes through. She will be so hard for Abbedagge to deal with, but for now, he's relishing in the time where he can just be a bully in this lane.
I think Humanoid is also waiting for the opportunity where he can forget about that middle lane. He has Gunblade now. That's going to be great for him, but I think it's hard to seek out kills in that short middle lane unless you're whittling down your opponent constantly, as MAD Lions are making a move in towards the enemy blue buff. But again, no Akali here means that as soon as Neon comes around, they're going to have to get the hell out of dodge.
And Schalke are doing a good job letting it reset while they're staggering the backs. Gilius has just been playing around with this, and it allowed Neon to take his back, buy his items, now walk back for the blue. And Abba did the same thing. He literally looked over at blue, he's like, I guess I'm not needed, and left. Now Gilius is going to hold it for him.
Gilius has been on this blue buff for 45 seconds. Between the fighting for it and the not fighting for it, and the praying he doesn't accidentally A-click it.
I will say the amount of time Schalke spent down there does mean quite a bit. There's a wave in mid lane that it's cannon wave, so it's not going to mean a lot of miss CS, but MAD Lions used that pressure to move up towards the top side. So as Humanoid, again, leading the charge, he's now up in top lane by himself, taking this turret solo to get that bonus money, while Orome is going to reset, go for the end, or go for the wave in the bottom side, and Shadow was able to get the red buff, which, let's face it, he's probably way happier with stealing than the enemy blue.
I think a concern is that Odo has kind of stopped the griefing a little bit now. He had a bit of a rough early game, but now just staying safe, allowing the wave to be pushed into him. He's still sitting on 30 stacks for his coal as Abba caught out.
Flash forward the hook. That is absolutely massive from Kaiser, finding the play there, but now the arrows are coming in. Still the shutdown will connect, but now Dreams has just thrown himself right into the meat grinder. Won't quite get suplexed under the tower. MAD gonna slow it down just a little bit, taking their time on this engage. Dreams getting hooked once again, but that's the current call. Big damage gonna come through on the fourth shot. For now, Carzzy uncontested. Fourth shot will land. Neon now locked up, potentially overstaying as well from the damage coming through from Carzzy right on time.
Someone's gonna die.
But there's no one else here. Kaiser going forward, but the rest of the team is going back. That's a massive miscommunication, but what will it cost them? For now, nothing. If they were with him, maybe they find a kill, but as they back off, luckily Kaiser remains alive.
Yeah, that was a close one right there. MAD Lions, though, continue to keep throwing fights Schalke's way, and that time Abbedagge underneath the tower picks up the turret, so Kaiser able to find that move, showing a good pick for MAD Lions, who were playing behind. Look how Kaiser waiting outside the fog of war. He flash Qs right on in here. Abbedagge very little time reacting. Even if he does flash out, Shadow is there on the collapse. The coordination now is showing between Kaiser and Shadow, which is so pivotal for MAD Lions playmaking.
Yeah, it was just a really nice play from Kaiser, like you were talking about with the fog. And you can see what Abba's thinking. He has flash. He's playing close to the wall where his team is. He's thinking that he'll have time to flash out of any sort of engage and back to safety, but Kaiser just with the outplay there.
But we're also just starting to see Carzzy get a lot stronger. Even just a Storm Razor starting to make Jhin a lot more of a threat in these engages and these skirmishes. MAD Lions composition, certainly something to reckon with, especially once Akali starts to come to these fights. But for now, Humanoid remains kicked out onto a side lane, being matched by Odoamne as MAD Lions set up for the third Drake. Very important. Schalke moving to Cloud Soul, or Soul Point rather, would be a very big deal. And giving Cloud Soul to a Renekton, well, it's pretty much a death sentence for a Jhin. So need to be careful around this one.
Setup. You're looking for key ultimates like Gilius and Abbedagge, obviously, but it looks like we're playing for Kaiser.
Kaiser caught out. Doesn't proc Aftershock quite yet. Isn't going to get a chance to if they have their way. Trying to turn this one back. Kaiser's so incredibly low, but he's still alive, but he hooks back in. Kaiser still committing. Gives everything just for that one hook. Dreams now running for the hills, but will get taken down. It's a slow, scrappy fight.
Dreams is a goddamn hero. he saved Neon so hard.
Oh, shockwave clean. Shadow has no cooldowns left. Carzzy with the 4-shot, but he's out of ammo now.
Here comes Humanoid.
Reload coming through, though. Gilius now has to run for the hills. Humanoid, oh, this is an Akali cleanup Dream. Dash in, where's he going to go? Can't afford to make a mistake. Just goes for the flash ult. Now Odoamne in the midst of everything. Shroud comes out. Odoamne getting chunked away. Has to use the ulti to regain a little bit of health. Shuriken flip there. Abbedagge has to be careful. He can't afford to pull the Akali under the tower. The rest of the teams will now back off, but again, a scrappy fight from both sides.
Yeah, these fights are getting crazy because, I mean, Kaiser spent so much time staying alive, they were able to trade him out for Dreams. And then at the end there, you see a little bit of a taste of how these fights can play out with Jhin poking from long range with the ultimate, but they're just going to teleport in here. They don't want to give this up.
Round 3, baby. Ring the bell, it's time to go. Schalke arriving in force. Sejuani nowhere to be found. They do not have a smite to take this one away, and Schalke, it appears, have realized they may have overstayed their welcome. They will back off. TP, though, forced out.
Yeah, just really greedy from Schalke to try to hard force that one. They thought they caught MAD Lions in bad back resets, but Orome using the TP, and it's just a numbers advantage for MAD Lions to brute force shove Schalke off that Drake and stop the Drake roll. That would have been third and set them up for Soul, so it is a very big deal. Yeah,
there are a few awkward things there, I feel like, from Schalke continually trying to force. The first one was, of course, diving all the way for Carzzy, or Kaiser rather, because even though they didn't kill him, they effectively did with how low he was, because you can see it is this bit of a pick at the start with the Ashe arrow going down onto Kaiser, and he can't proc his aftershock, so he takes so much damage. But here's where they go to Ham. They get Kaiser so low, but now they're caught out here inside, and Kaiser spins around knowing he still has the aftershock for just a second. So Dreams trades out, even though it was 100% HP for him versus 30% on towards Kaiser, and then Schalke continue to force.
One support falling on the sword, the other one being the actual sword. Kaiser's like, I've got him. Dreams like, I'll save you.
And also, coming out of this, Odoamne held onto his teleport for so long when Humanoid went in there, so clearly he didn't want to fully involve himself in that fight, and I feel like if it was a little bit more coordinated from Schalke, that fight really would have gone their way.
Oh, now trying to pull back. Kaiser has a stopwatch, though. He can't just try to save up for this one, but he's going to hold on to it. Will not use it, but now Carzzy's just getting run down here. That's so much damage. Not quite enough to finish it off, though. And now Schalke have complete control of the mid lane. Shadow's going to have to commit a lot of cooldowns if he wants to try to get this wave out. Carzzy, of course, no curtain call. Will be coming off cooldown in just a second. Can't step back if he wants to, but they're just going to concede the mid lane tower.
So this is one of the issues that I had with MAD Lions' composition into Schalke's comp, is that they're relatively low range. You have a bunch of melee champions, and yes, Jhin does have long range, but it's not the same force of damage at this point that you would expect from other ADCs. And look at the zone control that Schalke have. Orianna, Sejuani, Ashe, it is really hard to penetrate into that without flashes or TP flanks.
Exactly, and what this means is that when both teams sort of get into a kerfuffle in the river, we'll hold that, because Odo's just jumping on too.
Missing the entire jungle, he has been forced to use ult, however. Gilius is on the way. Maybe he wants to extend this play. Shadow the easiest target. Orome difficult to lock down now, especially with how much armor he has, but they're going to push through for it anyway. All of MAD collapsing as well. Ashe arrow not going to be available, but the Hawkshot does come out. That's 1, 2, looking for 3 and 4 stacks on the Shadow. He is going to get stunned up, pulled back, and killed before he can use the Haymaker. Now they're going to try to continue the fight, but they realize maybe too little, too late.
Missile Voyage on the way.
They're going to pull out. Odoamne running for the hills. Tahm Kench now coming in. They want to turn this one more time. All eyes on Abbedagge. He's got the shockwave. He can easily make this a wonderful play. But Carzzy just turning back. The hook will not connect. Kaiser now pulling himself to the middle of the entire team. Abbedagge locked up from a distance. Now the retreat coming out. But Odoamne, he's overextended. And Carzzy, with the 4 shots, just going to clean him up.
That is Schalke forcing way too hard, because meanwhile, you can see in the picture-in-picture there, Akali is getting so much time. The arrow goes wide. The shockwave isn't going to connect. Abbedagge won't even throw it. And Humanoid's just like, this is totally fine. 2-0, got 4 waves to my name, now pushed down a tower, feeling great.
Yeah, Schalke are not playing on the same page, because you have Odoamne that's full sprinting towards the enemy team. Meanwhile, Dreams goes for a very low range Tahm Kench ultimate, so they could have gone for the flank. Instead, they did it very defensively while Abbedagge was there ready with an ultimate. So again, I feel like Schalke really dropping the ball in these 5v5s.
And this is some of Schalke's weaknesses that I think we've seen not necessarily punished to the same extent as they're on this crazy rise. And they do have a tendency to go a bit too ham, to go a bit too hero, too overforce. And it usually is Gilius who does it, but it's the rest of his team that bails it out. If you think about the last time that Schalke and MAD Lions face each other, that top lane play where Gilius just hard runs in as Sejuani and Abbedagge has to pull the team fight back on his Corki, that's what happened there. Gilius threw the ultimate thinking he was going to get another pick and didn't even think that MAD Lions were collapsing on them.
And right now, I think Schalke just need to slow down and play for the objectives. There's not a huge need to actually force plays around the map because, as you said, they have so much zone control. Their scaling is going to be very strong in their hands. And on top of that, they can take control in the river super easily because of that zone control, because of all the ranged abilities that can zone away the enemy team. Like, you just drop down that Orianna ball in a tight choke point with the Ashe W as well. Like, it's very easy to push MAD Lions out of their territory.
Now MAD Lions setting up around the mid lane.
Look at how powerful Akali is.
She's very strong right now. That's Leandry's. We're now waiting for a third item to come through that Ornn can upgrade, and then she will be just about unstoppable.
So, because Akali is so strong while we're setting up for this Drake in 25 seconds, the control wards from Schalke are really important to make sure that Humanoid can't get access into the backline. Again, the zone control versus Mad Lions being able to brute force and find the targets that they want.
That being said, Mad Lions have a lot of ability to engage. Schalke go for it, though.
Carzzy, though, isolated on the side. The stun now coming out.
He's down.
Cleanse, but it's too little too late. They're going to move through. Odoamne getting a lot of health back, but he's caught in the midst of Shadow. He's now running for the hills, but Kaiser simply next on the menu. Humanoid in the midst of the entire team. The Shockwave will not connect. He needs to find a way out, though. The dash through. Humanoid now trying to move across the entire team. Can't quite get the double. The shutdown will come through for Schalke.
That's the flank.
And now here comes the Tahm Kench. Dreams into the midst of everyone. Orome now trying to walk this one off. Almost impossible, though. Orianna Ashe is not a combo you escape from. You can turn and accept your fate, or you can walk down until you die. Neon's going to grab that one. Killing spree coming through. His Shadow has to run for the hills. And once again, this game remains a story of who can force harder, and it's never moving in the favor of the team that can force.
Shadow should get walked down here. I don't think there's anything he can do as long as Neon touches him with the red buff.
He's got the zippies. He's getting out of there.
He's going to have volley.
There it is. Shadow? I don't know why I'm hyping this up. There's not a lot he can do. He'll give it the biggest punch of his life into exactly 0 people and will drop down. Odoamne happy to grab that.
Wait a second, Schalke, they forgot about the dragon. They said, let's chase down, get the smite, because now for 30 seconds, Shadow is dead, and they're running for the Baron. Gilius just came off the respawn. Abbedagge teleported in. Now Odoamne can teleport in too. They're just going to try to force yet another fight 5v4.
There's no cleanse on Carzzy. There's no flash on Carzzy. He cannot afford to overstep here. The good news is he's Jhin. He has the curtain call. He can poke a little bit from a distance.
This
Humanoid
is crazy.
Ult will be coming off of cooldown shortly, as well as the flash. But the Tahm Kench is going to be disastrous. But no, the Shockwave goes wide. That's going to be a big deal. Dreams has already used the Devour. They can't save anyone else. Odoamne on the backside looking straight for Kaiser, or Carzzy rather. Going to get run down, and the rest of the team now retreating. Schalke holding on, but their biggest enemy now is the Baron in the pit. They are going to be able to finish it. That is disaster for Mad Lions.
And that is such a baller call from Schalke right there. To find the pick on Shadow, immediately rotate into Baron, and now Odoamne is still going.
Odoamne playing like a man possessed, and now Shadow's got to be wondering, why did I pull the Renekton into my team? Slide and glide is going to be up soon. That's the slice. That's the dice coming in just to get him out. Double kill. Going to move through for Gilius, and Orome, he's throwing a few skills, but it's just not going to be enough.
So I want to open up a discussion. Obviously, this is a huge swing of power for Schalke. They now have the Baron. They're going to be knocking on the door, and game one basically looks like it's wrapped up in a bow for Schalke at this point. It's just about closeout. But I want to breach the topic of Renekton, because I feel like Renekton gets a bad rap in the League of Legends community. And yes, you didn't really get to see the dominating lane performance that we think about Renekton to have, but his ability to disrupt team fights and how his ultimate basically acts as a heal in the middle of a fight, that means he goes from death to basically half health again.
And it's especially these mid-game team fights too, where he can find that flank in the backside, because there's almost no AD carry that can go toe-to-toe with a Renekton on 2 items. The Blade of the King plus the Bork. He got into the backline. No one was peeling Carzzy's Jhin. Jhin gets destroyed 2 fights in a row.
And this is the trade-off between the Nautilus and the Tahm Kench. The Nautilus, of course, you can start fights. You can do it on your terms. It feels so good. But when it comes to saving your AD carry's butt, you don't have the tools necessary to do it. And more importantly, if you blow them all on the Renekton, the Ashe and the Orianna are just going to run you down.
But Gilius now on the hunt, see if he can catch people out. And I think in the composition that Schalke have, because they usually also play a tank jungler with Gilius on this Sedge, you're fine to go for a more bruiser top laner. And if Renekton does fall behind, he can just become a stun bot and stand on top of Neon and defend him alongside the Tahm Kench. I think Renekton, people think about him as way too one-dimensional as a champion, and there's a lot more flexibility. It still is hard to execute on the champion, but especially with Cloud Soul, like the ability that he'll just hit his ultimate and get so much health back. Call of the Meek is so powerful. You don't need to rely on dominance for Renekton to be a strong champion.
And the last thing here, too, is that even, yes, if he falls off, the fact that he can constantly proc the stun from Gilius makes him scale much better in the game. And, at worst, in the late game, that Akali who wants to dive into your backline, your Renekton just becomes the second support for your Ashe and your Orianna. He sits there with W and he says, please come in. I would love to be a 1.5 second stun.
He just waits inside of the smoke for that 1 second you pop on out there, and you're instantly going to be going down. Then you're stunned by the Sejuani. It's a disaster. Schalke, meanwhile, full control. For a little while, Humanoid was going into the side lane trying to farm up, but he's realized too he can't go toe-to-toe with that Renekton just yet into the game. So now Schalke have gone back to basics, picked up that bot wave. They have 3 full waves now to take full control of the enemy jungle and finish off this final inner turret.
And of course, at this point, you already said it, Froskurinn, that it's looking like the Schalke finish, the Schalke closeout. That is what expected. But we check a look on the opposite side for MAD. We see what could come through. Orome working on a lock to this Iron Solari. That's going to be a big deal.
Oh,
that
huge
thought.
ult.
Humanoid caught out 1-2, but still in the Shroud. They're not going to be able to find any follow-up here. Two major engage tools now gone. Of course, next Drake's still in 2-minute 40, and the Baron buff falling away, so Schalke not going to be able to get anything else in this push.
The cost value on that Shroud there was massive. That was like a $10,000 Shroud.
That was probably the game Shroud right there. He goes down. They've got a couple of waves there. It can mean a whole lot. Humanoid also has some tools to work with. We just saw the Shroud be really impactful. He has, of course, a lot of tenacity to not go down in these fights, and now a stopwatch to try and, again, cause more delay in the backline. Because even if he's not outputting damage, him dropping his Shroud for a couple of seconds, the stopwatch, that zones Neon away in theory. But it feels like with the amount of peel that Schalke have, that's not too much of a concern for them at this point.
And there is some breathing room now for MAD Lions. The Observer's highlighting it really beautifully here. You can see that the freeze is being set up for Humanoid. Now, obviously, with no soul spawning yet, 2 minutes on that timer. Baron, 2 minutes on that timer as well. There's like a rest where MAD Lions are going to funnel as much gold as possible and then need to gear up for probably the most important fight that will decide, do they turn this game one around or do they roll over?
Yeah, I also feel like for MAD Lions, this is a game in which you can give over the Cloud Soul uncontested. You actually want to fight for the Baron buff, because at this point, the Cloud Soul is CDR on your ultimate as well as that movement speed. But right now, MAD Lions are contained to their base, so it's going to be a team fight where it's all bunched up. The movement speed is not going to be as big of a deal as some other potential options, so it's Baron where you must draw the line.
Look at Shadow.
Oh, man.
Medios, is that you?
Hi, is that you?
The one Lee Sin kick 60 minutes into the game. I mean, we'll see. This is the classic. We guys have Medios, but this is really the classic Hylissang.
No, look, you have two teleports on Orome and Humanoid. You have Shadow, who literally is just sitting there. Like, he's expecting that Schalke will go for the soul, and in 55 seconds, this will pay off. This Sett is literally just chilling for 55 seconds to get double TP and get, like, the Hail Mary miracle snipe here.
It's all they can do. And now, I mean, what can MAD Lions have going into this fight? In theory, Orome could try to upgrade Humanoid Zhonya's Hourglass. That is one of the options here for some extra AP and some armor. I think, like, you have to if you are going to be drawing the line at this final team fight. The problem is MAD Lions can't really get control over mid lane because they have very few wave clear options. So as long as Orianna's going to be here, here we go.
Oh, dunk back down. Gilius, they're going to miss the follow-up hook, though. That's disastrous. The pullback, though, on the phase breaker. Dream's going to eat him up, and now they have no peel left for the carries. Dream's frontlining for now, but Odoamne on the way in.
Sejuani!
So hard to get away from a Humanoid now in the midst of the backline. Odoamne getting caught out. Carzzy trying to throw down some damage, but Odoamne will not go down quite so easily. And Gilius, the man they tried to start a fight on, is now turning it right back against them. But Odoamne into the backside. Carzzy still alive, trying to run for his life. It's a messy fight. Neon still coming through. Neon still alive. Neon remains up. The double kill for Abbedagge, and that is disaster for the MAD Lions. That is all they have left. One more shot, but it will not matter. Triple kill for Abbedagge, and the game for Schalke no fear.
And such impatience that came from the MAD Lions right there. Shadow, who's moving around, they tried to force the engagement, they didn't get the one that they want, and that was all she wrote. It is going to be game one for Schalke. The momentum continues.
Schalke do not drop a game. They run through the MAD Lions. MAD Lions tried to throw so much early aggression their way, but it seemed like for almost all of those plays, Schalke were the team coming on top. They played a clean macro League of Legends. They played for the numbers advantage, and honestly, they're looking real good going into the rest of the series.
An 11-game win streak for Schalke no fear.
Do you believe?
I mean, it's kind of hard not to after a game like that, Froskurinn. We look back, I mean, anytime a game like this ends, people are always going to point back to the draft because I feel like it's always the easiest thing to identify. But also at the same time, let's talk a little bit about the execution here, because this was a game where everyone was trying to force so hard. And normally in game ones of an elimination best of 5, everyone's way too scared. These teams are crazy. They're always trying to make something happen at every stage of the game.
I think it's about tempering aggression. We saw both teams kind of have their moments where they overreached, and there was also moments where you saw teams kind of hesitate. You talked about the Gilius play when they forced the jungle. So I think now it's about resetting. You kind of ran standard comps and then just try to throw plan 2.
Gonna have to find out what happens. Schalke have their eyes set on Worlds, and after the break, the analysts take a closer look at Game 1. They're gonna try to buy a bit more space, but he cannot connect. Now the rest of the team now coming in. Jankos, though, he's already used the grid. He's going to be very squishy, but they cannot quite kill him because an unbreakable comes in at the perfect time.
I think they kind of looked a bit shook off after we beat them last final. It's like they felt like what they were doing just could never like work against us, and I think they just wanted to change it up and find a new way of playing that could actually beat us.
Submit still trying to get in. Golden Shadow, there's the charm. Submit dives into the back line.
And we always manage to find these like solutions to our problems that we always just make it work. So if the meta keeps on going like this way for us, it's perfect, honestly. I feel like it's just right for our players.
Charged up. Hello, everybody. Let the game begin.
You don't have a chance against me. I can calculate 90 trillion moves in advance. Not fair. Not fair.
Red Bull gives you wings.
onto the analyst desk. Schalke, no fear, just secured their 11th win in a row, and it might be one of the most important ones of their entire season. They get off to the right foot in their miracle run against MAD Lions and lock that first game away. There is so much to talk about because it was a very interesting and telling first game. Let's start with picks and bans. Caedrel, what did you think of both drafts?
Yeah, I really like Schalke's comp in general. They have like lots of synergy between the champs. They have the Ashe, Tahm, and Froskurinn team fights. The Renekton Sejuani works well together. You have the Orianna for that late game scaling. So I really like their comp. The MAD first pick Akali kind of threw me off a bit. I didn't expect it to be that OP. I thought it was strong, but I didn't expect that. I like the fact they rounded out with the Ornn and the Jhin and Nautilus. These are kind of LPL picks, which are really strong. But I didn't really like Shadow on the Sett overall. It didn't look like he was super confident on it. His early game plays were a bit questionable, and I think that his first time on Sett here in the LEC has not really been that good for me.
Yeah, I think that Sett didn't make as much sense to me.
In
honestly,
the comp either?
Well, yeah, but also just the MAD comp caught me by surprise a little bit, but what I was impressed by was how Schalke handled it, because as Caedrel highlighted, I really like the Schalke comp too, but also when you look at it, it's a very traditional Schalke comp. You know,
it's just a traditional comp.
Just when you look at that, you're thinking, okay, we talked about it at the beginning of the day, right? Ashe sitting on Neon, okay, that's what you expect. Scaling mage mid laner for Abbedagge, okay, cool. And then some kind of synergy kind of to round the comp out, and in particular, Renekton Sejuani. And you know, like everyone loves to debate how good Renekton is, but Caedrel and I were like, Renekton Sej, such a powerful combo. And later on, we'll get to talk a little bit more about it, but in particular, why this comp is so good against what MAD want to do is because they all want to dive in. And it's so difficult for Akali to kill Neon that it's pretty much impossible in every single fight because of what this comp from Schalke does.
And that we saw later in the game. In the early stages, though, we had our eye on the jungle matchup. Of course, Shadow versus Gilius, which is hype in itself. And Shadow did not get off to the right foot here, Caedrel. What happened?
So you saw he went from the early game play into mid. He actually got Abbedagge's flash. So that means that the Akali can sort of get the push early. It was a really good play. He came back to mid lane for the regank. It didn't really work. He got caught. He had to flash away. Same thing happened in bot, but then he eventually died. So the whole Sett pick, it's a bit confusing, but I can see why they picked it. So they fourth picked Renekton. They knew they were going to last pick Sejuani with the Renekton Tahm Kench. So they thought, well, let's try and get the best jungler into it. Olaf blind pick wouldn't have been that good there. So I think just going and throwing something like a Sett, set up some early game. You have a good front line with Ornn. You have good scaling with Akali on mid game with the Gunblade. So the Sett kind of was a bridge, but it just felt like instead of being a bridge, it just collapsed and they just fell behind the early game.
And it felt to me like MAD ended up hamstringing themselves, and this kind of like comes back to what Caedrel was saying at the beginning of the day, which is that when teams come into game one, they have a plan. And to me, it felt like MAD had a very clear plan with the first pick Akali, and so far things have not gone the way they wanted. It was a very tense mid game, but then things really started to collapse.
That's a great point. I mean, it was very back and forth. Schalke got the advantage, but then MAD got it back, and nothing really was out of control until this next fight we're going to look at. 23 minutes.
So I'm going to walk over to the Telestrator. You're going to come with me.
That's a surprise. All right.
I'm going to do a bit of drawing to break down this specific fight in particular, and this is really where the game opened up. So the first thing I want to draw your attention to is the positioning from both these teams. So you'll notice that for now, MAD Lions are trying to gain access into the river by utilizing their four-man group to try and force access in. Schalke are just holding the line for now. They're using Odoamne, they're using Gilius, and you've also got this three-man clump up towards mid lane. This three-man clump, that can either be used to move over towards mid lane to regain some prio, while these guys maintain some control in the river, or they can quickly collapse should a fight actually kick off. So, as we roll this one out, we're going to start this playoff. So the first thing you'll notice at the beginning of the play is first Schalke splits up. So these three go and clear that wave, as we were talking about a little bit earlier on. Meanwhile, MAD see this as an opportunity to actually start off and engage. But this duo don't actually care if they're being engaged on, because this is the primary front line. They actually want you to come on top of them. So as we start rolling out this clip once again, the first thing I want to immediately draw your attention to is Carzzy's positioning. Look at where he's sitting in the front line right now. This is not where AD carries want to be, ladies and gentlemen. Typically, they want to be sitting at the back here. They want to be sitting behind their front line. And what Carzzy ended up doing was taking a path forward. And I'm not really sure why. my only thought was that he was worried about this 3-man collapsing, and so he wanted to be in a better position. He knows that he does have Flash and he has Cleanse, so he can use these to try and get away, but as we roll the clip out, what you'll see is it's so easy for this duo of Gilius and Odoamne to actually just get on top of him and melt him down. Meanwhile, it comes back to what we were talking about in the draft where, okay, so this 3-man unit of Abbedagge, Dreams, and Neon at the back are actually relatively safe for the time being, and what Akali wants to do is get this TP flank off, execute Neon, and if they can trade AD carries, then maybe there's a situation in which they can actually win this team fight, because at this point you can see that, well, Carzzy's pretty much dead. The problem is, Akali can't actually kill them. So keep your eyes on Akali in this fight. He goes in, immediately gets exhausted, invisible. So many tools get used to try and interrupt him. While he does initially get 1 kill, he then gets collapsed on by the rest of his team. And after losing this fight, this is really where things all start to go wrong for the side of the Mad Lions.
Yeah, this was a terrible fight, sadly, for those Mad Lions, and well played by Schalke. And I think when you look at Schalke, you were talking about the way they play. They like to keep it even and then accelerate, because they have so much trust in their team fighting potential, as we see now in their compositions. I also want to highlight specifically Neon on Ashe. We've said it already, Ashe had no wins in Europe before he picked it up in the last weeks of the split. And I think as we follow this story, he was also a standout player versus SK Gaming. 19.5 KDA there, 83% kill participation, and he's on the same route now.
Well, look at his DPM, the damage percentage, everything. He's been popping off in the fights. You know, when Ashe got Hurricane and the front line kept coming at him, they kept showing Akali, Nautilus, Ornn, everyone was trying to dive on him, and he was able to free hit with Tahm Kench next to him. And I think Neon played the team fight super well. He played the lane phase super well, and I think the whole swapping situation they did with swapping top, pushing out, basing, going bot with the Herald was super well played.
It was. Now to come back to your opening remarks at the beginning of the show, saying the first game of the series is going to be so important. Mad Lions back on the blue side. What do you think?
Well, I'm a little disappointed from what we saw from the Mad Lions in Game 1. I expected a return to form. I think individually they were not in it, with poor positioning performances from both Carzzy and Shadow. So I'm hoping now that they'll make a shift in draft. They won't first pick the Akali. They won't give the same tools that Schalke's finding so much success with. And hopefully we see a little bit more adaptation to give us a more compelling series.
Yeah, I want to see more adaptation from the jungle bots mainly. I think the Akali pick's good, the Ornn pick's good. I think throwing in something like a Lee Sin, which was open there for Shadow, would have been really, really good. And the Kalista was also open. So I think you could have put your bot lane on like a Lee Sin, Kalista, Nautilus, get way more early pressure, help the Akali get to mid game, and that's your bridge rather than just throwing Shadow on Sett and saying, well, see if you can do your best.
Exactly. Let's see what happens. But in any case, the Schalke hype train is steamrolling towards Worlds, but we'll see if Mad Lions can slow them down in Game 2.